Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8-Second Gaming, and in today's video we are going to be breaking down the Season 17 solo queue tier list. A lot of people are on their rank grinds, and most of those people are solo queuers, so we've got this video for you. But if you're looking to take your Apex skill to the next level, then you need to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there we have top level coaches, including myself, pumping out the best, most highly informative guides you will ever find. These are all site exclusive, and we've got legend guides, gun guides, VOD reviews, positioning guides, aim guides, every single thing you can imagine. We've already helped a bunch of people hit new peak ranks, and you can be next, so click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, and start to improve today. But okay, let's jump into things, and I do want to reiterate one last time. This is for solo queuing. This is for the solo dolo players that are just raw dog and ranked. And what better place to start off with than the D tier, and we actually have two legends in the D tier, these legends being Crypto and Revenant. Now don't get me wrong, these legends are strong in their own rights. Crypto is actually one of the strongest characters in the game when played to his strengths. But the issue that you run into with solo queuing is a lot of times people have different game plans. They don't really want to do what you want to do. And even though Crypto is really strong in the current meta because he does want to play more for zone, a lot of people don't really want to help out the Crypto. And the same thing kind of goes for Revenant. Revenant can be really strong when he has a legend to kind of combo with his ultimate. He needs somebody to help him get into the fight, or else you're just wasting too much time. But in solo queue, you're just rolling the dice and hoping that somebody actually picks a character that works well with him. In a solo queue environment, these two are not the best, but now let's move into our C tier. And there are four legends find themselves in the C tier. There's Caustic, Fuse, Gibraltar, and Rampart. Now Caustic, Gibby, and Rampart all kind of fall into the same category. They're strong in the situations that you want to put them in, but again, you're not always going to be having the same game plan with the people that you are playing with. Now the reason that these guys are in C tier and not D tier, even though they have the same issues, is because they can be strong in a lot more situations. Gibraltar and Caustic can be super offensive when they want to be, and Rampart, when you actually get to put your walls down, she can be pretty strong. But they really want to be in the situations that they want to be in, and if your team does not want to be in those situations, they lose a lot of their usefulness. And for Fuse, I just don't think he's that strong of a legend. Right now, the fights are super deathball-y, so Fuse loses a lot of his usefulness because he just wants to create chaos in fights. But right now, there's not enough situations where he can actually do that. And with all the movement legends that are in the meta, Valkyrie, Horizon, Loba, stuff like that, his mother load really loses a lot of usefulness as well because people aren't going to be trapped in the flames. Most of the legends in the meta right now have a way to get out of them, and honestly, if you're fast enough to react, you can just walk out of them to begin with. He's just a solid C tier legend right now. But now let's move into the B tier, and the legends that are finding themselves here are Ashe, Ballistic, Catalyst, Lifeline, Mirage, Seer, Vantage, and Watson. Starting off with Ashe, she's lost a lot of her usefulness in the meta. Even though she did get buffed at the start of Season 17, with her tactical now being a little bit faster when you're running, the tactical itself still isn't that fast, and unless you're really good with it, you're not actually going to be able to tether anybody with it. Now she can take some pretty cool off angles that also do some really cool stuff in fights, but it relies on her ultimate being up, and with the rest of her kit not really being super strong, it does just kind of leave her in the middle and B tier. Next up we have Ballistic, the new legend in Season 17, and I actually really like Ballistic on my team. I think he's a fantastic legend in certain situations, but again, he does require your team to actually kind of be on the same page because he wants to use his ultimate in certain points of the fight, and if your teammates are kind of all over the place and they're not getting the bonus out of it, you're only really getting it alone. And sometimes it does require you running down your teammates in the middle of a fight to give them the little boost. Now I do think Ballistic's really cool. I don't think he's meta defining, but as a solo queue player, you don't really want to have him as your go-to option. Like I said, I do like him, but I just don't think he's a great solo queue legend. But now let's talk about Catalyst, and I actually really liked Catalyst when she first came out. I thought she was really interesting, I thought she was really cool, and I did play her a lot even when I was solo queuing, but honestly, as a solo queue legend, she just doesn't have the proper kit for it. She is strong, and she can do some really cool stuff. She can bunker down buildings, she can cut off line of sight, stuff like that, but you really need a lot of team coordination in order to get the maximum usefulness out of her kit. If you throw up your wall in the wrong spot, it can screw over your teammates pretty well. And if something goes wrong in the fight, you do need your teammates to help you get out, and most of the time in solo queuing, they're not going to help you. So I do think she just kind of falls into the B tier, but now let's talk about Lifeline. And Lifeline, again, it can be really good in certain situations, especially as a solo queuer, because most of the time your teammates are going down first in the fight, and it just seems like they just don't play with their monitors on. So Lifeline can allow you to res both your teammates at the same time. I don't think she's really strong in the meta right now, and I don't think she's a really big standout pick, but being able to revive both your teammates at the same time is the reason that I'm putting her in B tier. She can reset fights really well, she can get your team some heals, she can potentially get you a mobile respawn beacon, and she can craft banners if it comes to it. So not an overall standout pick in the meta when it comes to everything else, but as a solo queuer, you can get away with her. But now let's move into Mirage, and Mirage is usually a very low pick in the meta for me on my tier list. He's just not a very useful legend. And most of that came from people not really understanding how to counter him in lower ranks, but this season everyone's rank is super inflated, so he can actually be brought up pretty high in different elos. You have people that have never stepped foot outside of gold in other seasons in Masters now, so people that have no idea how to play around Mirage are in all different elos, so Mirage actually gets a lot more usefulness in this season than he has in any other season. Now I will be honest, if you guys are going to play Mirage and you are on my team, stop popping your ultimate in a building. I can't see anything. But other than that, he can craft banners, he has a somewhat decent res, and he can trick some people if they have no idea what they're doing. So I do think he does deserve a spot in the B tier right now. Moving forward though, let's talk about Seer. And Seer is still in a very strong spot. Scans are still in a very good spot in the game right now. They're still very strong. But the issue that Seer falls into is he does require a little bit more team coordination. If you throw your ultimate too early or too late, your team is not getting enough usefulness out of it. If you scan too early or too late, your team again is not getting enough usefulness out of it. So he does require everyone to be on the same page. And like I've said multiple times in this video, you're solo queuing. Everyone's not going to be on the same page. Even if you comet, people are not going to be on the same page. So Seer does find himself in the B tier. But next up we have Vantage. And Vantage is actually a legend that I solo queue on quite often. I do like the flexibility that she gives. Though right now in the meta she has kind of fallen off a little bit, I do think she's still a very solid go-to pick if you want a little bit more flexibility. But her hitbox and her cooldowns are still a little bit wonky, so she does really kind of fall off there, and that's why I think she's a solid B tier legend. But being able to run a lot of different weapon combos on her because you have a built-in sniper rifle, you have your medium and long range covered, so you can run 2 SMGs if you wanted to on her, does allow some pretty cool flexibility, and that's why I think she's a solid B tier pick. And the last legend we have in B tier is Wattson. Now Wattson is a legend that I've actually been solo queuing on a lot this season in particular. Typically I don't think Wattson is a very strong solo queue legend because like other support legends, she really requires her teammates to want to do what she wants to do, and she needs help getting out of fights if things go south. But again, with the ranks being super inflated and a lot of people not knowing how to play around Wattson's fences in most of the elos, you can get a lot more usefulness out of her. And she does have a pretty small hitbox that does help you get out of fights if you need to. And with a lot of random grenade spam going on this season, I do think her ultimate is a lot more useful, so right now she does seem like a very solid B tier solo queue legend to me. But now we can move into the A tier, and find themselves here are Bloodhound, Horizon, Mad Maggie, Octane, Pathfinder, and Valkyrie. Now starting off with Bloodhound, they are probably the best scan legend when it comes to solo queuing. Their ultimate makes them extremely aggressive in fights, their scans are really solid, and with the White Ravens you can get your ultimate pretty much every single fight. But they're not S tier right now. The scans are still pretty strong, but they're not as strong as they used to be, and they don't give you KP anymore. They changed that quite a few seasons ago, so it is kind of lame. I wish the scans still gave you KP because that was a lot of fun, but the information that you get with the scans is still very good. If you like gathering information in fights and still being aggressive, Bloodhound is definitely the go-to pick for you. But now we can talk about Horizon, and Horizon is probably a very strong go-to pick for a lot of people when solo queuing. Her gravity lift is still very good, her ultimate can win fights on its own, and when you get into endgame circles, she can just throw the ultimate out and pretty much suck everyone in and just win off that. But I don't think she's S tier because the gravity lift is not as good as it has been in previous seasons. You can't really beam people off of it anymore, a lot more people know how to play around it, and she's just not as strong as she used to be, so she's still a good pick, and if you're solo queuing and want a legend that still does the kind of stuff that she does, she's still a very good solid pickup. But she's not the S tier legend that she used to be. Moving forward though, we have Mad Maggie, and Mad Maggie does what Fuse wants to do just a little bit better because she thrives when getting in close quarter combat. She wants to create chaos, Fuse wants to create chaos, but Mad Maggie also is really good when teams are just a lot more deathball-y. They want to group up, cool, just throw your ultimate at them, it stuns all 3 of them and they're just free kills. Your teammate got somebody to one shot and now they're just around a corner, cool, you can down them and still be in the fight with the same person that you've been fighting. You need to get away from somebody, cool, your ultimate's on like a 2-second cooldown, just throw it and run away. She does what Fuse wants to do just a lot better, and she's a lot stronger in the meta currently and just a really solid go-to pick if you like to cause chaos. But now we have Octane, and Octane in the meta is usually pretty weak. When you do an actual tier list, he does find himself pretty low in the ranks. But when it comes to his playstyle, he is a very selfish solo queue type playstyle, so he is very good for solo queue people. His stim, his jump pad, his healing, it's all for a selfish playstyle. 2 of his 3 abilities really only benefit him, and then even his jump pad is more for him than anybody else. You should know more tips and tricks of the jump pad than anybody else. When to crouch, when to not crouch, how to go backwards on it, how to tap strafe off it if you're M&K, and just stuff like that. And when you actually get Octane into a 1v1 when he's stimmed up, he is the hardest character to hit. He's even faster than Bangalore. So even though you're taking a chunk of your health away, people should not be able to hit you. And if you're able to throw a Neo Strafe in there and actually understand how to do it, you are going to be killing everyone. But another movement legend we got to talk about is Pathfinder. Now Pathfinder has been very strong for the last couple seasons since his rework. He's a lot better, he can get a lot more movement around the map, and in certain fights he is still really strong because he can just take high ground on a whim. But he still falls into the same issue that he has before. His hitbox is massive and his cooldown cooldowns are way too long. If he had his old cooldowns and had a smaller hitbox, he would definitely be S, maybe even S+ for solo queuers. But right now, he is still a walking fridge, and if you find yourself caught out with no teammates and no cooldowns, you're screwed. The last legend in A tier is going to be Valkyrie. Now, Valkyrie has been losing her usefulness more and more and more, and especially in Season 17 with the introduction of the evac towers, it's just a better form of her ult in my opinion. It's not as high as a Valkyrie ultimate, but you can still spin on it, be a little bit more elusive, and you're not as easy to hit. But as a solo queue player, having that random oh crap moment where you can just ult and get your entire team to a spot is still very strong. And even with her jetpacks taking off angles in fights and stuff like that, you can do a lot of different stuff that does benefit a solo queue player. So that is why I have her in the A tier. But now we can talk about the S tier, the best of the best, the legends that you are going to be wanting to main if you are a solo queue player. And finding themselves here are Bangalore, Loba, Newcastle, and Wraith. Now starting off we have Bangalore, and I don't think this one surprises a lot of people. Bangalore is just a very solid legend in a lot of different situations. She's an entry fragger now, her smokes are really good when you actually understand how to cut off line of sight properly, her ultimate can be used both offensively and defensively, and when it really comes down to final circles, if you have a digi threat and you throw some smokes out, you're probably going to win those fights. She's become a lot more meta recently, and especially as a solo queue player, you can do some crazy stuff on her. But our next legend is Loba, and another one I don't think is going to be surprising people. You can craft banners, you can get loot, you can take off angles, you can be offensive, you can be defensive, you can do whatever you want to do on Loba and still get away with it. And on top of that, you can just distract the enemy team because they're probably going to be looking at your personalities instead of actually wanting to shoot you if they have a sniper rifle. She has the entire toolkit and a distraction built in. She's just the perfect solo queue legend. And she has her own built-in escape tool, so if the fight does go south, you can bracelet out, craft your teammates, get them loot with your black market, and everything is okay. But now the next legend that we have is Newcastle, and Newcastle is such a strong legend. I still don't understand why he still has such a low pick rate. He can be offensive, he can be defensive, he has one of the best reses in the game, if not the best res in the game. He can create cover wherever he needs to. He does everything that a support needs to be able to do, and he does it better than most of the supports. Because unlike other legends in the support role, he has a built-in get out of jail free card. He can take off angles in fights, he can try to be soloed out by people, and when it happens, he can just jump back to his team with his ultimate, and it creates cover where he lands. He can then heal up and get back in the fight when he needs to. Honestly guys, if you like to solo queue and you want to play the support role, Newcastle is the one for you. And the last legend we have in this tier is Wraith, the OG solo queue legend. She got buffed a couple seasons ago and she's still so strong. She has the best built-in get out jail free card with her phase. She has a portal to get her team from point A to point B, especially in lag game situations. She can play super split from her team. She can get care packages for free. She can file your taxes. She can do whatever you need her to do. There's a reason that she's always been a very staple pick in every single different kind of playstyle, especially in solo queue, because she's just that good. But let me know your favorite solo queue legend in the comments down below, and if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Thanks all for watching. Once again, I'm Game, and I'll see you guys in the next one.